We've talked a lot about worthiness and unworthiness today. We saw Bobby walk down in her wedding dress and talked about feeling filthy and allowing God to restore her. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about how the Lord, in my unworthiness, helped me to see that I was worthy. Help me to see that I was worth waiting for, worth dying for, worth being there for, and worth loving. And where is our good friend Mark? Not Pastor Mark, but Mark from Claire's church. Is he here? I think homeboy left. It's okay. I remember towards the end of last year, I sat down with Mark. He's kind of like a papa bear to Claire and and I just sat down with him and I just began to share with him my heart about how I was just like, you know what, dude, like, I want to get married, but I just don't want to go there. I don't want to talk about boys. I don't want to talk about marriage. I don't want to talk about one day having to give my body to a man, because the truth is, I have walls the size of Jericho. I have smoke screens. I have jokes like I'm the president of the Singles Till Rapture Club, single till I die, and all that good stuff. And I didn't want to talk about that because the truth is, I have felt unworthy for most of my life. And I'm going to share with you a spoken word piece that I wrote last year. And it really came from the conversation that I had with Mark. And Mark sat me down and began to speak into my life, and as a papa bear showed me that I was worth fighting for, that I was worth being there for, that I was worth loving through my brokenness. And this man, the Holy Spirit spoke through him, and I had about 10 miles worth of walls around my life that came down. And I was like, man, I spent time building these walls. I spent years building these walls, and these walls are nice. They're graffitied, they're painted, they're wallpapered, they're Pinterested. And I had to talk about marriage with him. And I had to talk about kids with him. And he looked me dead in the eyes and said, you desire more than anything else to be married and have children, but you hide behind ministry, you hide behind modeling, you hide behind serving me, and you say you're married to the body of Christ, but the truth is, you want to be married. And I was like, oh, no. I was like, you know, those moments and people see right through you, and all your walls have to come down because the truth comes out. Because even my dad on like April Fools, I've never been on a date in my life, and I'm going to like share about that in my spoken word piece. I find my dad many times when I walk into his room. My dad's an amazing man of God, and I see him sitting there, and he's like, Christina, I'm praying for your husband again. And I'm like, that's cool. Walking out now. He's like, Christina, I'm praying for your future children. Oh, that's cool, Dad. That's cool. I'm going to be 27 this year. My eggs are going to be scrambled soon, so I can't have kids anyways. And every time my dad wants to bring up that conversation, I'm like, nah, it's cool. On my senior prom, Christina, do you have a date? No, I'm wearing an Indian outfit. Oh, really? Yeah, I'm going single. Okay, Christina, here's 20 bucks. Just go get a pedicure. You've been surfing a lot. Your feet look like the Flintstones. Man. So today I'm going to get very vulnerable with you ladies. I'm going to get very real, because the Lord last night spent about 3 hours tearing down every wall and smoke screen I have put up for the last 26 years. And I'm going to start off with the spoken word piece, and I'm going to let the Lord speak through 26 years of unworthiness I have felt and how he has helped me to see myself as worthy. And so the spoken word piece is called Worth Waiting For. And it's what God has done in my life. And this came out of the conversation that Papa Mark had with me that day. And I believe that it was a conversation that the Lord's been wanting to have with me for a long time. But the Lord sent a Papa Bear to have it with me, because he knew that I wouldn't have wanted to talk with him about it. So this spoken word piece is called Worth Waiting For. At the age of 6, I took my heart and I placed it in the hands of God. It's yours, I told him. That night I made a pinky promise with the Father of heaven, a promise that I would run to his love each and every day until he brings me the man that I would one day call my husband. I want you to write my fairy tale, I told the king. And I want to go on my first date with my husband. Taking out his feather pen and the story of my life, he quietly whispered into my ear, no matter how hard it gets, wait for me to write your love story, Christina. Wait for me to bring you the one who will treasure the diamond of your heart the way that I have. Wait for me to bring you the one who will count the stars with you at night. Wait for me to bring you the one who will listen to the heartbeat of the ocean with you. Wait for me to bring you the one who carries my fragrance. So the wait began. Climbing on top of the Lord's shoulders, I began to look around to see who the one was. I would show him pictures of boys I knew from school, and every time I did this, he would say, nope, nope, nope. Stop guessing, stop searching, and stop striving. As the years went on, I would get dressed up, put together the right outfit, and say the right things around the guy I believed was the one. And every time I did this, God would pluck me out of that situation and place me right in front of him to remind me that my heart belonged to him, my beauty belonged to him, and my affection belonged to him. Stop performing, girlfriend, and let me bring you a man who will love you just as you are, he would say. If you need to strive to get a man's attention, then girlfriend, he is not the right one for you, because the right man will see you through my eyes and love you through my heart, he would say. Going along my merry way, I would say, okay, for sure. And I would see the other girls at school and at church with their boyfriends, and I chose to not listen to the voice of my king, and I once again began to change myself to be accepted and noticed by a man. At the age of 17, a cute surfer boy got my number on the beach. Our texting conversations turned into late-night phone calls of him asking me to come over. So there I sat at the age of 17, tired of seeing everyone else in a relationship but me, because high school relationships last, right? So there I went walking down the stairs of my house, where I saw my father standing, blocking our front door, looking at me dead in the eyes and saying, girlfriend, you are going nowhere to meet this boy at midnight. You are worth so much more than this. Go back upstairs to your room. So there I went upstairs in my room crying, angry with the Lord, angry from withholding affection from my life, angry for seeing everyone else getting hooked up and married and going to prom and holding hands and doing all that lovey-dovey stuff, but me. Everyone else but Christina. But there my king faithfully came, knocking at the door of my heart to remind me of the pinky promise we made together at the age of 6, to remind me that I was worth so much more than a late-night hookup, that I was worth so much more than being treated like a doormat by a 21-year-old boy, that I was worth so much to him that he would come pounding at the door of my earthly father's heart at midnight to stop a daughter of the king who was willing to set aside her crown and degrade herself because she was hungry for love. My king fought to keep my heart away from all the men who are not my husband these last 26 years. Standing there with his sword up and shield out, he guarded my heart with his love. And even when I would step outside of his protection, he would shine a flashlight on my rebellion and place me back behind his sword and shield. His love has guarded me these last 26 years. And even when the abuse came, he kept my heart close to his to keep it from shattering. Even when the cutting depression and eating disorders came, he held my heart close to his to keep it alive. And even when I felt like life wasn't worth living anymore at the age of 22, and when I wanted to pull the plug, he knew that he had once again saved my life from suicide, taking the life support from me. He held my hand in his, looked into my eyes, and said, I will never let you go. And with an AED unit, he brought my dead soul back to life again with his love. The truth is, my friends, he kept me keeping my promise. He kept me from destroying my vow. He helped me to wait because he knew that it would one day be worth it. At the age of 26, going to be 27 in November, I have yet to go on my first date. I kissed a boy in the 8th grade that I regret to this day, because the truth is that first kiss belonged to my husband. The king of my heart defended my heart that had his name engraved at the center. He fought for my purity. He fought to preserve me. He fought to help me see that I was worthy and that I was worth it, and that even though, no matter how jacked up and messed up and broken I was, that I was worth so much to him that he would piece me back together with his nail-pierced, calloused hands until I was whole again. I will wait. And so should you. And girls, the truth is, as a child, when I was sexually abused, that was the only intimacy I ever experienced in my life. So love in my life, in my mind, was someone wanting something from me. Was someone wanting to take something from me. And I would watch movies of people with romances, and I would watch, TV shows and listen to music. And I believe the Lord at the age of 6 told me to make a vow to him. Because the truth is, every boy I liked from the age of 5 up until maybe 3 years ago never liked me back. So I tried this whole thing with the Lord of liking boys. I also liked girls growing up. Let's throw that in the mix, because I dealt with same-sex attraction because of my abuse. Even though that's not an excuse, that was the product of my own sinful nature. And I had more chicks that gave me attention growing up than boys. And so I would go to the Lord and say, okay, you want me to wait for this man you have for me. But the truth is, I don't look like the other girls at school, and none of the guys at school like girls like me, because I'm not exactly this big with blonde hair and blue eyes, like the Southern California standard of beauty is. And I never felt good enough. I never felt worthy enough. I never felt talented enough. I never felt clean enough. I never felt put together enough for any guy I ever liked. And so I was like, what's the point, Lord? What's the point of talking about marriage? What's the point of talking about children? Because I'm never going to be enough, dude. Never going to be enough. But what the Lord did at the age of 6 was that he put on my heart to make a vow to him, because it has taken him 20 years to heal my heart that was filled with abuse. And a lot of you girls are walking in today and you feel unworthy for marriage. You feel unworthy to wear a white wedding dress on your wedding day. You feel unworthy to be a mother. You feel unworthy to walk down the aisle. You feel unworthy for all of these things because of what has been done to you. Because of the rejection you have faced, because you feel filthy, because your father left you, because you were sexually abused, because you were raped, because you were sexually assaulted, and they filled out a report, but justice was never served. But what I love about Jesus is that he takes chicks like me that didn't want to talk about marriage, and he's like, girlfriend, I'm going to talk about it. Because what I did my whole life is that I took this desire and I stuffed it deep down inside of my heart. And I was like, not me, Lord. I'll just serve you for the rest of my life, dude. I'll do ministry. I'll go to Africa. I'll go to Asia. I'll go to Australia. I'll go to South America, but not marriage. I'll go to Zimbabwe, dude. I'll go to Tahiti. I'll go to China. I'll do anything, Lord. But just don't talk about marriage. I don't want to go there. But what the Lord began to show me is that marriage is a picture of the gospel. And my love story that I've shared for the last 20 years with Jesus is a picture of the gospel. Because the truth is, even if my husband never arrives in my life, I still have the greatest love story with Jesus. That God saw a daughter that was left out and broken and torn and tattered, and he picked her up from her filth. He put her in front of him, and he put her in the shower, and his grace showered upon her and washed off all of her brokenness and filth and unworthiness and guilt and shame. And he took that daughter, clothed her in robes of royalty, put a crown on her head, sat her at his table, and said, "You have the first dance at my ball, girlfriend." Because that is the gospel. And girls, a lot of you have a desire to one day be married to Prince Charming. But the truth is, like Claire talked about this morning, the greatest lover you could ever have is Jesus. One of the favorite lines from a song that I love singing, it says that he can love you more in a moment than all the lovers could in a lifetime. And a lot of you girls are coming in today, and you're like, "Lord, I want to be married one day. Lord, I want to have children one day. Lord, I have these desires, but I feel unworthy. I feel disgusting. I feel like no guy would ever love me. I feel like I'm used." Maybe you're a girl who is a virgin, who's never been with a man, but because you were raped or sexually assaulted, you now feel like you're no longer pure, and you feel like used goods, and you feel like no guy would ever love you. That was my story. But you know what? In that moment, when you feel that way, Jesus steps forward, and he's like, "I will love you. I will heal you. I will take you out on dates." Do you know that every day I have dates with Jesus? Every single day I sit with him, and he lavishes me with his word and with his presence and with his grace. And every day, probably since 2012, that's all he wants to talk about is marriage with me. Because he has shown me that he wants me to be betrothed to him. And like Bobby talked about, he talks about how he wants to betroth us to him in righteousness and in purity. And girls, a lot of you have walked in this place today, and you are wearing rags of shame, and you do not feel worthy to be a daughter of the King. You feel orphaned. You feel alone. You feel like no one will ever love you. No one will ever want you. Maybe you're adopted and you don't know who your biological parents are, so you feel like maybe if I just end my life, who would notice anyways? But let me tell you that the King of the universe wants to adopt you as his daughter, and on the birth certificate of your life, in his blood, he wants to sign his name, Yahweh, Elohim, Jehovah Rapha, Jehovah Jireh, Jehovah Tiskanu, Jehovah Elyon, Jehovah Rephekah. Those are all the names of God. He wants to engrave them upon the tablets of your heart because he wants your heart. And girls, maybe a lot of you today, like me, have felt unworthy to come before the Lord, have felt unworthy to receive love. But do you know what? From that conversation that Papa Mark had with me, the Lord began to do a work in my heart. And all the walls that I had around my heart, all the smoke screens I put up, all of my "I'm going to be single till I die" jokes, the Lord was like, "That needs to go, that needs to go, that needs to go." And I'll be real with you guys. Yes, I do want to be married and have kids more than anything else in the world, apart from knowing Jesus. But do you know why I want that? Because to me, marriage is a picture of the gospel, and what greater ministry is there than displaying the gospel through your life and through your marriage? That's powerful. And that day might come 5, 10 years from now, and I will wait for that day. But I have learned to see that I am worthy to receive the man the Lord has for me, regardless of my broken past, regardless of my abuse, regardless of being taken advantage of, regardless of feeling unworthy, regardless from being rejected by every guy I ever liked, regardless for the pornography addiction, the same-sex attraction I experienced, my eating disorders, my cutting, my depression, my suicide, me almost getting sent to juvie hall in the 5th grade. I am worthy despite those things, because those things don't define me. Only the cross defines me. And so, girls, I want to ask some of you today. There's a lot of you today that have given part of your heart to Jesus, but you haven't given him your full heart. You're trying to fill the vessel of your heart with the love from this world, but does the love of this world satisfy? No, it leaves you empty and wanting to come back for more. No matter how many women I looked to give me attention and love that I never experienced in my home, I never found it. No matter how many guys I looked to even to notice me, no matter all of the attention that I got from guys or didn't get from guys, that didn't satisfy. That is a temporary satisfaction. It is not an eternal one. But what I did is that every single day I take my heart and I come to the altar of grace and I place my heart at the foot of God's throne and I say, fill my heart with your love because I know that only your love will satisfy. And a lot of you girls today have not given your hearts to Jesus because maybe you feel like he will never love you because of what you've done and where you've been. Maybe you feel like you're too broken. Guess what, girlfriend? He created your heart so he can fix it. But a part of it comes with surrender, of saying, Lord, I give away the lovers. I turn away from the pornography. I'm tired of taking my heart and going from pornography to masturbation, to same-sex attraction, to homosexuality, to sexting, to multiple sexual partners. And you have to take that heart and you have to come to Jesus and say, here is my heart, fill it with your love. Because a lot of you have one foot in the world and one foot in church. Ooh. But I know that today that the Lord wants you to see yourself as worthy. Not because of what you can do. Because you see, a lot of my life I felt unworthy. So I was like, maybe if I just book more modeling jobs, maybe if I just take more pretty pictures, maybe if I just lose more weight, maybe if I just say the right thing, maybe if I just wear the right outfit, then maybe the guy that I like will like me back. That was my thought process for like most of my life. But what the Lord showed me is that even through my best friend Claire, is that even like a while ago, she was like, Christina is enough for who God has for you. Christina is enough. Not the modeling Christina, not the ministry Christina, not this Christina or that Christina, just Christina, the daughter of the King. That is all. All of those other things are temporary. Christina is enough. And girls, I want to tell you today that Jessica, you're enough. Sarah, you're enough. Monica, you're enough. Caitlin, you're enough. Just as you are. You don't need to dress yourself up and put on the accessories of this world to feel good enough because you're already more than enough just as you are. Not because of what you've done, but because of what Jesus did on the cross. And so, girls, I'm going to invite my friend Faith up here. Faith, you can come up. Because we're going to do something right now. What I love about Jesus is that he invites those who feel filthy, dirty, unworthy, taken advantage of, those who feel like trash. And he's like, I'll restore all of them. He looks at the daughters who are giving themselves away to boys. He looks at the daughters who are up late watching pornography. He looks at the daughters who have been sexually abused. He looks at the daughters who have been messed up, who have eating disorders, cutting, depression, suicide, all those things. And he's like, I want all of them to be my daughters. You don't need to be a pretty, pretty princess for Jesus to love you. I'm not a foofy chick, dude. But God was like, I'll still love her. So as Faith begins to lead us into a time, I want to extend an invitation. And I'm going to ask those to respond to this invitation to stand up here with me, because I believe that there are some of you today that have walked into this place that have spent half of your life, if not all of your life, feeling unworthy, feeling like trash, feeling used, feeling broken. And a lot of you might have walked away from God's house because you feel so disgusting and you feel like you have messed up. But remember what Bobby said. Bobby sat here in her wedding dress. She's going to get married in about a month. And she's like, girlfriend, I feel worthy, because that's how Jesus sees you, is the righteousness of Christ. And I want to extend an invitation to those of you who need to come to the Lord and just give him your heart. And maybe you once gave your heart to Jesus, but maybe you took it back and you walked out of his house. But guess what, girlfriend? You still have a seat at his table. And he's waiting for you to come back to dine with him. He's waiting for you to come back and pick up that crown and place it back on your head. He's waiting for you because he wants to clothe you in robes of royalty again. That was me. And that is me every day. I want to ask those who want to give their hearts to the King, or maybe those who have never given their heart to the King, to come and just stand here with me as we sing this next song. And who cares, dude, what people say next to you? Who cares about what your friend is thinking? Who cares? We're all broken in some capacity. We are all in need of God's grace. No one is perfect. I sure am not. So I'm just going to sit right here for this next song. And if you want to come up.